You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 99. Did Rebel Wilson gain weight to become famous? Oh my gosh. Let's do it.
Perfect.
I'm Victoria Wellesby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident, fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello, fatty. How are you? Happy podcast listening. Hope you're doing well. I want you to bust out a quick episode. My episodes are not normally quick, are they? But I wanted to bust out a quick episode because I wanted to talk to you about some things, if that's okay. So someone made me aware of this thing being Rebel Wilson saying that she lost weight so that she could become famous. And so I saw it on Fat Fab Feminists account. I'm going to link to their account. I'm going to link to everyone who I'm talking about here today, their accounts and whatnot. And I was like, what is this? And someone else messaged me and said, hey, can you talk about this? And I was like, well, I've already spoken about fat celebs when they lose weight. That was episode 54, when your fave fat celeb loses weight. So you can find that episode at fiercefatty.com/054 if you wanted to listen to that whole episode. But I wanted to give my take on this. So let me tell you what's going on. So originally, because Rebel Wilson has been losing weight, right, as we know, and recently has been talking about it more, and said one of her posts on her Instagram is her in her a red swimsuit. Look, I love the swimsuit, actually. I want the swimsuit, but I bet you it doesn't come in fat sizes. Anyway, there's a picture of her in a red swimsuit with a straight size body. And the caption says, it's never too late to improve yourself, to improve your health, your heart, your happiness, your harmony. For everyone out there just trying to be a little bit better this week, go for it. Every bit counts. Every effort is worth it. And I think that Rebel has done also interviews talking about weight loss. Well, obviously, she has done tons of interviews talking about weight loss. And so anyway, so people are talking about this within the fat community, saying how disappointing it is, you know, for this whole kind of, she what does she call it? I mean, year of health or something. And so, yeah, people talking about how disappointing it was. And then a TikTok account called fat_tats, TATS, I'll link to their video, pointed out that Rebel said that she deliberately became fat or put on weight to become famous. And then Victoria from Fat Fab Feminist saw that and then made a post about it. And so this is the post that this is a Victoria made an IGTV about it, and which is a couple of minutes long. I'll link to it. But then also this post afterwards, which is kind of like a summary of what was in the IGTV, which says Rebel Wilson gained weight with the purpose of using fatness to advance her career and capitalized off of fat stereotypes, making our bodies the butt of every joke, just as long as it was convenient for her. And now says it's never too late to improve yourself. Absolutely vile. And then the caption that goes along with that post that reads, "You don't have to agree with me, but you have no right to tell me I'm not allowed to be upset. This before and after rhetoric of the frumpy sad fat who just needed to take care of herself to transform into this beautiful amazing version of herself is fatphobic. Do whatever you want with your body, but being in the public eye means that your words have repercussions. Her whole career was one big fat joke." Then she goes and talks about how she, quote, improved herself and how you can, quote, you could too. But being fat doesn't make you broken. You do not need fixing. This narrative is damaging and hurtful, and I'm allowed to feel disappointed. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so I know a lot of people struggle with this kind of rightly feeling disappointed and angry and a ton of different emotions. So let me just read what Rebel Wilson said. And now, so this all came out in 2016. And so Fat Tats pointed out, oh, she's lost weight now, but, you know, she didn't always, she wasn't always, you know, whatever, you know, what this article's going to say. So, I'm reading from globalnews.ca, and so this is titled "Rebel Wilson Says She Gained Weight to Get Famous." This is July 4, 2016, and two other places. So this is a roundup of the two places that she said it. I don't want to link to the one of the other places because it's the Telegraph, which is a right-wing piece of shit. But I went and had a look, and this is literally just copying from their website. Okay, so reading. This article says, some actors and actresses will go to extreme lengths to be, quote, noticed by casting agents. And it turns out Australian Rebel Wilson is one of them. By the way, just an FYI, as someone who has done interviews with media outlets and whatnot, what you say can be so twisted. Literally. So let's see what Rebel says, and also keep in mind that this might be a really cool story to kind of blow up and exaggerate, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe it's exactly her word for word, but let's just keep that in mind. Okay, so speaking to the Telegraph, she noticed that there were benefits to being fat, they use the O word, specifically that women are seen as funnier if they're bigger. In her first play, she was cast alongside a girl who was bigger than she was. Quote, I was like, oh, that girl's getting a lot of laughs. A lot easier than me. What is it? Because I don't think there's that much difference in talent. And I remember distinctly thinking, I think it's because she's fatter. And then, I don't know if it was mega conscious, but I thought, how can I get more laughs? Maybe if I was a bit fatter. And then suddenly I was fatter and doing comedy. The pitch perfect talent went on to say if she takes a few months away from the screen, her body weight drops and returns to its normal, natural size. Wilson told the paper she was athletic and had strong arms before hitting it big. Quote, I'll take 6 months off and just do a total transformation, but then so many people go, don't do it. Her comments are similar to the ones she made to an Australian publication, Daily Life, last year. Quote, I took something that was seen as a disadvantage. No one thinks, if you're fat, that you're going to be an actress and everyone's going to love you, and turned it into a positive. And bigger girls do better in comedy. I don't know why. Maybe because people find it easier to laugh. It's very hard to laugh at someone who's very attractive, I think. And normally those people don't have a great personality anyways. As part of the Telegraph interview, the Bridesmaid star said that the other reason she believes she grabs gigs more regularly is because she can ad-lib. And it goes on about ad-libbing a little bit. So that is what she said. yeah, it's fucked, right? It's fucked up. It's fucked up. And I think as well, there's other things that are at play here. So, as I mentioned in my episode 54, I'm talking about any fat celeb that's losing weight, like, you know, because we've seen what recently, what Adele, someone else, Cupcake, someone else. Anyway, it's a pattern. It's a pattern. A lot of the times, who was it? I was watching a video of some Dream Girls. Oh, who was one of the original Dream Girls? And I was watching a production from like 1996, and and I'm telling you, I'm not going. That's it. I'm telling you, I'm not going. Who is that? I'm telling you, I'm not going. Jennifer Holliday. Thank you, internet. Oh my God, that was going to bug me. And I was like, yes, Jennifer Holliday. Look at this incredible fat black woman just tearing this shit up. And then I like Googled her, and I was thinking, oh, is she still alive? And I looked, and she was thin now. And I was like, oh, I was sad about it. And there was a picture of her before when she was a dream girl, and now, and you know, before she was fat, and now she's not. And I mean, I had feelings about it. I was disappointed. I don't know anything else about Jennifer Holliday. I don't know why she lost weight. I don't know how. I don't know anything, right? So I was disappointed, but has it got anything to do with me? Has her body got anything to do with me? No. Would I have preferred for this person who has nothing to do with me to have stayed fat and be fabulous fat person, 60-year-old now? Yes, but that's just for me, right? And how often do I get to decide people's lives on my preferences? Never. So anyway, what I'm saying is that feeling of disappointment is so normal and natural. And so a lot of times what people can feel and what can go through our minds is that we thought that fat celebrity was, quote, like on our side, that they got it, and now they've maybe betrayed us or let us down or disappointed us. Like imagine if I turned around and I said, do you know what? Hey, everybody, I'm going to lose weight. Then you would probably be like, what the fuck? But, you know, I am a fat activist, and so that's probably not likely to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Don't worry. It's not like I'm like, oh, don't get scared. I'm not going to do it. But we presumed that these people were safe, right? So when people listen to me, Fierce Fatty, is that there's that presumption that I am safe around, like, I don't think that being fat is bad, right? And this person that we thought might have been safe is no longer safe for us. And it kind of feels like them getting comfort from the fat community was temporary and not genuine, because actually that fat celeb hates their fat bodies, and it can feel like we were double crossed. And that fat celeb has benefited from the fat community and the work of fat activists, and it can feel like they're just throwing that in our face, like, I'll take your love, I'll take your support, I'll take your money, but I don't want to be like you because you're gross. Yeah, and it's so painful to see these incredibly talented people who have achieved bananas in wonderful things in their life, and then kind of their greatest achievement is having a smaller body. You know, apparently that's what the media and maybe what they think. And it's not accurate that is the most interesting thing about them. And it makes us, you know, non-celebrity folk think, well, then my weight must be the most interesting thing about me. The most noble thing I can do is to lose weight. And these celebs who lose weight are then treated like they are more human now, more more real. Now that they are thin, they've arrived, right? And now they can get the serious movie roles, and now they can date the hot guy, and now they are a, you know, proper responsible human adult. Now they, quote, have their shit together, right? And also they have succumbed to the pressure. They have succumbed to the pressure of living in a fat-phobic society. And we wanted them to be strong. We wanted them to be proud and fat and ignore all the fat phobia they experienced. And they weren't able to. They weren't able to. And it's kind of like, why did they have to, quote, give up and like throw in the towel and just be like everyone else when we thought that they were our fat friend, you know? And they're not. They're not. But here's the thing. Specifically with the Rebel Wilson thing. Rebel Wilson, looking at pictures of her as a younger person, she's always been fat. I don't know if you'd say fat, but she's always been not thin. I don't think you would ever describe her as straight-sized. So she wasn't a super thin person. And it's not like she was like thin, you know, straight-sized person and then was like, I'm going to do something to win movie roles, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get fat, like definitely fat, and then I'm going to get all of those comedy roles, and I'm going to really fuck with the fat community, and that will show them. Like, obviously that's not what people are saying when we think about what Rebel might have done, but it kind of feels like that, right? It kind of feels like, this is really calculated and a real betrayal. But I think the reality is somewhere in the middle, where she was fat and then she got fatter, which is still fucked up. I mean, still fucked up to say, hey, I'm going to use the tropes of who fat people are to get ahead in my career. That's not okay. Even if she was fat and then just got fatter. And she said, you know, I got the roles then, and as well, she said, I was in a play with a friend. And when was that? Like, we don't know. Was that when she was a teenager? Was that when she was 20? Was that when she was 25? When she was 10, you know? And then she started getting roles. When was that, you know? And she said, it wasn't really a conscious thing. And maybe she's looking back and reflecting upon those things. And those things are deeply inappropriate and fat-phobic. She doesn't know, though, because she doesn't understand about weight stigma, right? And so she's not, it doesn't sound, she might have been, but it doesn't sound like she was looking back and being like, oh shit, you know what? I realized I had this unconscious thought, and I thought that being fatter would be better for my career. And it's really interesting that I thought like that. And I really wanted to unpick that and realize that that was really a lot about my own internalized fat phobia. And, you know, like, it doesn't sound like that's where she's coming from. And that, you know, if that was it, then it'd be like, oh, that's really interesting. Let's talk about it. But it kind of sounds like she's almost putting on a costume of fatness. But again, I don't think that she was ever straight-sized. And I don't think it was this conscious, calculated thing. And the thing is, we don't know if any fat celeb is, quote, one of us. We don't know if any fat person is a happy fat person, you know? Like I was saying a few weeks ago in talking to a fat person, and I said, oh, are you fat positive? And he responded, well, I'm fat, so... And I was like, well, being fat doesn't mean that you're fat positive. And a lot of times we can put these judgments on, oh, they're fat and in the public eye, and maybe they're talking about all my curves and things like that, and it kind of leads us to believe that they are fat and happy. And maybe they say they're fat and happy, and they're proud to be fat. Maybe they say that. So a lot of times we hoist meaning onto the bodies of fat people and make them the spokesperson of loving your fat body. And yeah, perhaps they've made comments to suggest that, but do we know exactly what they really think and feel? Is it easier as a fat celebrity to be like, yeah, no, I'm celebrating my fat body versus being like, actually, I think that I'm a disgusting piece of shit, you know? Would it be easier for them to just say, yeah, celebrating the curves? And also, would there be a little bit of calculation around that of, oh, I'm going to be speaking to a larger part of the audience because most of the audience are going to be fat people because, you know, there's lots of fat people in the world. And so if I say, oh, I'm embracing my curves and yay, go curvy people, then people are going to like me more versus if I say, oh, I'm really gross. You know, is there that calculated thing of that? Like, I don't want to say that even though I feel like that. I don't know. I'm speculating, right? Do they feel they need to be seen as body positive because they're fat? And in reality, they're not. Or they've not even thought about it. We presume that they must be super confident in their body and worked their shit out to be where they are, but they probably haven't, right? They're just like us. I got a request for an interview to make a comment on Selena Gomez's new swim line. And I think she had some new swimwear or whatever. And I can't remember what it was. What was it that she had? Oh, that's what it was. She posted a photo that wasn't airbrushed. And so the interview request I had is, can you comment on the idea of Selena Gomez being the new face of body positivity? And and it was just because Selena Gomez, who was a straight-sized person, posted a photo that wasn't airbrushed. And so Selena Gomez, theoretically, I don't know because I don't follow them, but I follow her. But, you know, I presume that Selena Gomez, and I looked, I remember looking, Selena Gomez wasn't like, hey, everybody, I've decided I am the new face of body positivity because I'm posting a picture that is not airbrushed. No, people put that to her and said, listen up here, Selena, you can't claim that you are the new face of body positivity because XYZ. And Selena's like, well, shit, I'm just trying to sell a fucking swimsuit over here. Like, I'm not saying that I'm the new face. And that goes for any celebrity that, you know, Rebel Wilson, I don't think Rebel Wilson has ever said, hey, I'm the face of the fat community. I'm the face of body positivity. I am your fat leader. I don't think so. I don't know. But a lot of times, if there's someone who is just fat and existing in the world, we can put a lot of kind of expectations on them. And we have to remember that their body does not belong to anyone, not for fat people's consumption, not for thin people's consumption. And imagine the immense amount of pressure having your body picked apart every day in all the magazines in a very public way, what that would do to you. And it's wonderful to see fat bodies being represented, but what does it mean if that fat body becomes smaller? Like, we start to have judgments about that person. Is that okay to then judge someone if they're smaller? I see it so much. Oh my gosh, I really don't like it in Facebook communities where it's kind of like, oh, have you seen Rebel Wilson's lost weight? And instead of the comments being like, oh, it's so disappointing, there are some of that, oh, it's so disappointing. So many of the comments are, oh, she looks so unattractive now. She looked better when she was fatter. Oh, look at her skin. Oh, look at... And I'm like, what the fuck is this? What? Why is it then okay to now pick apart her body because she's no longer fat? Answer, it's not okay. It's fucked up. And of course, not everyone is doing that, but many people are. I'm always just like, oh, let me check out the comments here. Oh, it's body shaming. Hello. No, thank you. Another thing to consider is we don't know what's going on with them, their mental health, their physical health. Maybe... imagine being in Hollywood, which is so thin and white and healthist and ableist and fat phobic and all of those messages. So think of all the messages, you know, non-celebrity folks get all the time, that you need to be thin. And then imagine if all of your peers had tons of plastic surgery, all looked, all had these normative bodies, not even normative, like fucking, supermodel bodies, and then you're seen as the kind of like funny fat one, and you're not attractive, and all of the other pressures around that, and all the messages that a fat celeb will be getting about how they're unhealthy, and it's kind of amplified, and they're just existing in the world, and they're just on Instagram posting a picture of them living life, and the amount of comments that they're probably getting being like, well, you're promoting fatness, and why are you so disgusting? I mean, shit, I've got 36,000 followers. It's got too much for me that I've had to get my VA to respond to messages because I can't handle it. It hurts my mental health too much to be that small of a public figure, never mind having millions of followers. Like, that would really fuck with my mental health. And why do we think that celebs have different reactions? And yes, they've got more money to go and get tons of therapy to help them with that, but are they doing that? I mean, I know I would be. If I was like famous like that, I'd be fucking therapy 25 times a day, being like, oh my God, someone sent me this comment. Oh, I can't handle it. So, yeah. Yeah. And also, we have to think about as well, thinking about all fat celebs, what marginalized identities what other marginalized identities do they have? So they're fat. Are they a woman? Are they gay? Are they a person of color? Are they, are they trans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Because then that adds on even more marginalization. And so how hard is it to walk through Hollywood with different marginalized identities? And if you can try and get some relief from that because you believe that you have control over your body weight, then you would probably do it, right? And we have to remember that we have all of this education around how diets don't work and all of that type of stuff. But in certain circles, that is not the message that's getting out there. And so theoretically, Rebel hasn't heard that message. Do you think that Rebel Wilson has been, someone's come to her and said, hey, Rebel, by the way, I'm an expert in health, and turns out losing weight is not an indicator of health or worth, and actually you going on this whole year of health is, the whole thing is kind of healthist and ableist, and what do you mean by health? And that's probably not what's happened. Probably there's some kind of, one of her celebrity friends has hooked her up with some celebrity chef or personal trainer, and they're like, right, we know how to make you thin, you just have to put lettuce up your bum. And Rebel's gone, okay, cool, because that's the information that she's got, right? So I think about as well, Rebel losing weight is temporary. Chances are it's temporary. Even though she's a millionaire, she still has a human body, and it's probably less likely that she will put the weight back on because she has so many resources to do that. But she still has a human body that doesn't want to be thin because it seems like she's had a fat body for most of her life, right? So this is a temporary place for Rebel. We don't know in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, down the road, Rebel is going to be coming out being like, do you know what? I fucked up big time. You remember in 2021 when I was like, oh, look how thin and healthy I am. And I was such a knob. I had no idea that it didn't matter what I did. I was never meant to be a straight sized person. And the amount of pain that I caused the fat community for my, all of that shit that I did. I was such a knob. Can you believe it? And because I think about when I was in it, when I was like, look how thin I am. Why are you all so lazy and greedy and eating food? Look at me, I don't eat any. And I'm like, I weigh nothing, and I'm just like, oh God, that was so embarrassing. And thank God I didn't have to play it out in the public eye, because that was before Facebook was a thing. Right, so thank God I wasn't on social media, because the fucking shit that I would have shared, I'd have to be going back and deleting so much of that because, the embarrassment of it. And we all get to this stage at different times, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes people don't get to that place where they realize that, weight loss and all that type of stuff is bullshit. So, yeah, it's not okay. It's not okay. None of this is okay. And if you are feeling really mad at Rebel, I get it. And there's other things that are going on. And she is super privileged and has tons of money. So theoretically, she should be able to get, pay for someone in her life to tell her that she's fucking up. But that, that's not happened because most of the world is fatphobic, And she's probably getting a ton of praise right now. Yeah. I don't know, just take a deep breath here because it's exhausting, isn't it? Right? Oh dear. So yeah, that's what I think. Like, I think, yes, it sounds, Rebel's words were, I put on weight to get more roles. But how accurate is that? How is that taken out of context? I mean, she said it. Let's just take it on face value. She said it. But has she ever been thin? There's no evidence to support that she's ever been thin. The evidence supports that she's been fat. No, not fat. Just, fat. And so is Rebel Wilson this evil person? I don't think so. Does Rebel Wilson hold tons of problematic beliefs that are super harmful to many people in her audience? Yes, she does. Is Rebel Wilson maybe on the journey to learning that diets don't work? And maybe could Rebel Wilson be an awesome fat positive representation for us? Maybe not. We don't know, right? Who knows? So, I mean, I think it's, feel those feelings, feel mad. And also, I think if we have a bit of empathy around it too, I think that is probably more helpful for us, even just us, not Rebel. Yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to share some things with you because I got so many responses about episode 97, which was titled "When Your Spouse Isn't Attracted to Your Fat Body." So I shared a little video, a kind of summary of that episode, and the amount of responses I got was really I was surprised. So if you don't want to, I would say big trigger warning here. If you don't want to hear other people sharing experiences of their spouse saying they're not attracted to them and what happened, then just skip the rest of the episode because that's what I'm going to be talking about. And so that might not feel good for you today. And so if that's the case, then skip ahead. Skip to the next episode. Okay, so these are some of the stories that people shared. I'm going to read them out. In response to when your spouse isn't attracted to your fat body, and in that episode, I talk about how it's not okay that your spouse might share with you that they think that your body is not attractive, because that is fat phobia in action, and sexual preferences in regards to, I only date thin people. Is because of the society we live in, a fat phobic society, and fat phobia is not a sexual preference. Okay, so first comment. Just a couple of months into dating my now husband, a good 7+ years ago, he confessed that he had questioned whether he was attracted to me / wanted to date me because I wasn't the body type that he usually went for, and asked why I was choosing to be fat. I was fucking devastated and hurt, and rightfully so. He had made fatphobic comments during this exchange / discussion afterwards. We worked through it, and I ultimately, thankfully, I knew it was 100% a him problem and not a reflection on me or my worth. But it didn't make it hurt any less or question my attractiveness, unfortunately, especially knowing I was at my lowest yet still fat weight. And jokes on him, I stopped restricting and of course I gained it all back and more since. LOL. That being said, I still need affirmations, reassurance from time to time from the pain those early conversations caused. People truly need to leave each other's bodies alone, let alone live and love them for who they are, as they are, and drop the shoulds. Okay, next comment. Wow, wow, wow. I needed to hear this 10 years ago. My solution when my now husband told me he wasn't attracted to me because I had gained weight was to tell him that we should break up. I said that I loved him and would be sad, but that I loved myself more than staying with someone who thought like that. Thank you, Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. Oh man, I watched Sex and the City so much, like 15 years ago, like hundreds of hours of it. Repeat constantly in my DVD player. We ended up working through it and he is now incredibly supportive, but it took a long time for me to forgive him. I wish someone would have said this to us back then. Thank you so much. Next comment. Ex, who I was with for 5 years, ended our relationship in part because he was not attracted to my body after I recovered from an eating disorder. That was fun times. Oh, can you imagine? Unbelievable. Yep, this happened to me in year 4 of dating someone I thought I would marry. He really broke me. I shouldn't have let him had that power in hindsight, and I should have noticed other red flags before it even got to that point. That experience has definitely left me weary of intimacy and has been a huge insecurity for me. And this happened 7 years ago. I'm still damaged from it and feel undesirable and resent him so much. Not only does it affect how I view myself physically, but it really changed how I perceived anyone who might dare to show romantic interest in me. I just get angry and have no patience. It's something I'm working on, but it has definitely impacted the way I think of myself, including embarrassment now for letting myself get so wrapped up and affected by that one person. Yeah. I mean, shit, it's just... yeah. I mean, the embarrassment about letting myself get so wrapped up into and affected by one person. I mean, I don't think that you should feel embarrassed because this is massive. We're told by society that being fat is the worst thing you can be. And then someone that you love and trust and have deep intimacy with is telling you are the worst thing that you can be according to society, according to like attractiveness levels. I mean, fuck. It's like your partner being like, hey, by the way, so actually, I think you've got a really shit personality. I just hate everything about your personality. Can you just change it for me? You're like, what? This is me. What? Anyway, next comment. Thank you for sharing this. I'm luckily not in one of those relationships now, but I now know how much being... I guess they're trying to say I now know how much being in one of those relationships harmed me. Praying for everyone who is, was, or will be. Heart. Next comment. I'll never understand how my mother went through with marrying my dad after she asked him if he'd still love her if she were fat. And he said, as long as you don't weigh more than me. Ugh. Next. I've had this said to me by one ex that didn't like it when I gained weight, and then another when I lost weight. See, this person's saying gained weight and lost weight. They didn't like them when they lost weight. It's all about objectifying your body. You too much, too little, too this. How about I'm a human and not an object, some trophy for you? Okay, next comment. Amazing. Thank you for this. My last partner did this and it ultimately ended in divorce. I'd become intuitive eating and gained weight, and he told me he wasn't attracted to me and did not want to be intimate as much anymore. You are so right in that the shame is palpable. When he initially told me he lost attraction, I stopped intuitive eating and I frantically began dieting, but my weight loss was not quick enough. I remember feeling such deep remorse and guilt about my body, mind you, and he would tell me that he couldn't help it because, quote, men are visual. By the way, that's just fucking sexism. Anyway, the worst was when I Googled to see if perhaps it was just him, and the men on the forums online just confirmed what they said. Men are visual, we can't help it. I would think, my God, what would happen if my face got burnt in a fire or my looks began to fade as they naturally would? Would he still not want to be intimate with me? Ironically, I ended up losing weight after we broke up. I felt such pride for that and always hoped I'd run into him so I could show him. 5 years later, the weight came back on, and so did the guilt and shame. I've recently begun intuitive eating again and have not felt this freedom with food in so long. As I gain more weight, I'm worried that my current partner will do the same thing as my ex. Thank you for reminding me that it is his problem and not mine. I don't ever have to punish myself for the sake of a relationship ever again. I'd rather be single for the rest of my life. Okay, final comment. Thank you for this. I've had this happen in 2 relationships. It's soul destroying, and it initially was the catalyst for my subsequent eating issues and eventually my eating disorder. I always thought it was something that was not to be changed, in that they couldn't help what they were attracted to. Yeah. Just think, if we were brought up in a society where fat bodies were heralded the same way that straight-sized bodies are, do you think that these people would still have the same beliefs? I don't think so, right? It's just absolutely bizarre to me. Like, I was watching, you know that show on Netflix, The Circle, and it's some reality TV show. Anyway, and I was watching the first season because I watched season 2 and 3, and then they put the first season on there, and the first season is not as good as the other ones. Anyway, first season, but I'm still watching it, obviously. Anyway, and so one of the people on it, no spoilers, but one of the people on it is like, in the first episode, he's like, oh, if they're blonde, that's it, I'm blonde, only blonde people. And so then there's a blonde girl on there, and he's like, oh my God, it's blonde. And I was just like, you're such a knob. Oh my God, this guy is such a knob. Because I think, why is he so interested in the fact that they have blonde hair? Who the fuck cares what color their hair is? And it's because it's a status symbol, right? Like, what are we told in society is the most attractive? White skin, thin body, blue or green eyes, blonde hair. Like, that's seen as the epitome of beauty, right? And so he's just playing into such a boring stereotype of what beauty is. Like, he's cutting himself off from anyone else with other hair colors. And he didn't say that, like, I would never date someone with, brown hair or whatever. But he's just like, oh, blondes. And it's just so transparent that it comes from a place of lack of self-esteem on his part, of being deeply sexist and buying into patriarchal ideas and racism and all sorts of things, that it's just so basic and boring. And really, just start examining this shit, because it's kind of like 101. Like, really. It's 101 stuff of, why is it that I'm attracted only to thin blonde white women? Oh, could it be because I have some biases? No, it's just my type. I can't help it. Men are just visual. Oh, really? Okay. No wonder. Yeah. So those are those comments. But you know what? I don't want to leave on a note where it's kind of like, well, all cis men are trash, which, and I don't know the genders of these people, right? So, but there are so many people who fucking love size diversity. They don't care about what size their partner is. I bet you, if I asked you listening right now, like, would you care if your partner put on weight? Especially, like some of these stories are saying, after me recovering from something that was harmful, dieting, all that type of stuff. They were doing something wonderful that was really helping their mental health. Can you imagine you saying that to your partner? I'm guessing most people are saying right now, hell no, Victoria, I would never fucking do that. And so these are lots of stories of people who've experienced this fucked up thing, but there are still so many people who, and including cis men, who would be horrified to hear these stories, who would be devastated thinking about that harm that you and I have experienced or might experience with these stories, and would never dream of saying anything as cruel as that. And there's even tons and tons of people who have an actual preference for fat bodies, who are really into fat bodies, who really appreciate fat bodies, who say things like, oh my God, they're just so soft, and fat bodies are so feminine, and they're just so beautiful, and they're just so welcoming, and they're just so sexy, and they're just so like, I've heard people saying it's kind of like nature, like, like the thing that I say all the time from Rupi Kaur, waves and honey. And they talk about how sensual fat bodies are, and how they feel really held by fat bodies. I mean, shit, like obviously I would so date a fatty, be with a fatty, fuck a fatty. Oh, I would love that. And there's so many people who think the same, right? And yeah, there's people who don't, because they have not worked on their internalized shit. But do you want to be with someone who hasn't worked on their shit, or isn't trying to work on their shit? It's okay if someone says, I'm really struggling with my bullshit. I'm struggling with it, and I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to work on it. Versus being like, well, what can I say? They're grabbing their dick. Nah, men we're just fucking visual creatures. So, you have to stay like a model who's preteen for the rest of your life. Like, no. No, thank you. If that's how you think, then you can just go in the bin. Not for me. No, thank you very much. It's just not cool. Anyway, well, I said this was going to be a flying episode, but it turns out it wasn't. I must just love talking. So thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you later. I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, bye. Bye. Stay fierce, fatty. Thanks for listening to the episode. And if you feel ready to get serious about this work and want to know when the doors open to Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my signature program where I teach all about how to overcome your fat phobic beliefs and learn to love your fat body, then go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. Again, that is fiercefatty.com/waitlist to get your name on the waitlist for when Fierce Fatty Academy, my signature program, opens.